Okay, בשעה טובה. So we are פסוק כ"ג, פרק ד', פסוק כ"ג. The pasuk says the following: מכל משמר נצור ליבך, from all the guarding that you have, guard your נצור ליבך, guard your heart, כי ממנו תוצאות חיים, because from it is the source of life. Now, we know the difference between Shamor and Netzor. We've addressed it, right? Netzor is a much higher level of protection than Shamor. Shmira, like we said, is you put Shomrim, you put guards, right, in the corners of your field or of your house that are looking after the perimeter. Netzor is building like a fortress around the property. So he says, Mikol Mishma, from all the different types of protection that you have, Netzor Libecha, put a fortress around, build a fortress around your heart, because obviously it's the most important and it's the source of life. And here the Gaon introduces 4 sources of interaction in a human that will be addressed by Shlomo HaMelech in the upcoming psukim. He says there are 4 heads, meaning there are 4 sources of interaction. Lev, the heart; the mouth, pe; the enaim, the eyes; ve'aguf, and the body. And he says, because the body, because the end of the body and what holds all the body are the raglaim, so we refer to the body as the raglaim. When Chachamim refer to raglaim, to the legs, as a point of reference to the body of a person, right? It's referring to the entire, to the guf, right? To the entire body. And Shlomo HaMelech starts by first addressing the heart, because the heart is the most essential, is the most important, and the most valuable in an individual. And he says, you have to protect yourself from the outside influences and from the internal deviances. But the one part of yourself that you have to protect the most is your heart. He says, just like you protect diamonds and you protect precious stones in a safe, this is the level of protection you need to have when it comes to your heart. And obviously, what the Gaon is referring to is to the heart that was addressed in last shiur, right? Which is the Sodot HaTorah, which he said is what you have to keep the most, right? Because it's with the heart that you crystallize your knowledge. It's with the heart that you consolidate your studies, and it's with your heart that you actually will interact and implement what you're learning. It's with your heart that you change yourself and you better yourself. So the heart becomes the most sensitive and the most crucial part of the body. Now, obviously, we're not talking only about the physical heart. Yeah, we're talking about the behina of the heart, what the heart represents. So mikol mishmar netzor libecha, protect as much as you can with the best possible, in the best possible way, your heart. Ki mimenu totzeot chaim. He says because everything that's important you have to protect. And what's more important than life? There's nothing more important than life. And what gives you life? We said in the shiur last in the last shiur, what gives you life in the life of the nefesh, right? It's the heart. It's the sodot HaTorah. It's the Torah shebe'al peh. נכון? The pnimiyut HaTorah. So says the Gaon, if you want to have a life of quality and a life of longevity and a meaningful life, make sure that your Torah shebe'al peh and how you internalize your Torah is very well guarded and protected. Good? Good? Next pasuk. Kavdalet.
Can I ask a
So,
question?
sure.
Is there a reason, I don't know if anybody else is using Sefaria, but is there a reason that Sefaria would translate levavecha or libecha as mind rather than your heart?
Oh no, yes, because at the end it's referring to what? It's referring to your to the when we talk about the heart, we don't talk about the physical organ of the body, right? We're talking about the bina. We're
Okay.
talking about the right. So that's what it means by when it says the mind. It's yes.
Okay.
But the obviously libecha means the literal translation is the heart. And again, we cannot deviate from the fact that, from what the introduction of the Gaon, that the Gaon addresses based on Shlomo HaMelech's now 4 parts of the body, right? So you interact with your heart. Yes, Ani.
No, why does it include a mochin?
Why does it include what? The what?
Why the brain is not included?
Okay, very good question. The brain analyzes. The brain absorbs the information, whether it's from the chokhmah, right, or mitzad only the bina. Yes, but what do you use in order to interact with that information? You had what is you use the tevuna of the bina and the da'at, right? And that's the lev. That's the lev that we're referring to.
That was the source of my confusion with the translation. Why isn't the brain included? Which is Andy's question. When we need that to process.
Nachon, but you process. It's not an interactive organ. It's an organ that allows you to absorb information and process it internally. When you use it to interact, you use the dot. Yeah, you're going to use that what they interact what they call the mind. You use your heart, and this is how you translate what you've processed and what you've learned into a pkuda, into an order of action.
It's like a processor.
Something. No, maybe it's a little bit more than a processor, but like for example, in the Patah Eliyahu, that we read before every tefillah. Can bina liba uba halev mevin. Bina, the bina liba is referred to the heart. Uba, and with it halev mevin. The heart understands how to interact and how to connect with the surrounding. Chokhmah moha. Chokhmah is the moach, right? When we do it's the Yehudim that we say to bring upon ourselves, right? The kedusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our body. Chokhmah, bina. Chokhmah. Sorry, moha is the moach, is the brain. Bina, liba. The bina is the lev. Uba halev mevin, and with it you understand. And what do you understand? You understand. You have the bina to understand how to interact. Like you say, it's the processor, like the computer, the processor that knows how to, when you write an information, what to do with it, how to apply the formulas. And says Shlomo HaMelech, it's obviously the most important. Now, to your point and what you're saying, when you guard your heart, right, you also guard your brain.
Guarding your brain.
Because they come along as one, right? But here, because we're talking about interactive kohot, right? Shlomo HaMelech highlighted the heart over the brain. But it's obvious and it's pashut that if you want to protect your brain, you need to protect if you want to protect your heart, you need to protect your brain. Right?
If you protect the sensors, the 5 sensors, you will protect your brain.
I didn't hear.
If you protect your sensors, your 5 sensors, you will protect your brain indirectly.
Correct. Yes, okay. Obviously. Yes.
No, I got it.
Nachon.
Thank you.
So that is the lev. Next pasuk. Aser mimecha ikeshot pe. Put away crooked speeches, crooked mouth, a crooked mouth, and we're going to understand what that means. Ulezut sefatayim, and devious lips, arhek mimeka, push away from you. And here we're going to do what the Gaon says, and I want to highlight also what the Malbim says. So the Gaon tells us the following. He says we've addressed already the difference between Aikshut and Lezut. Aikshut, crooked, is a more mudgash, a more emphasized distortion from an axe, an axis, right? An axis. So you have a straight line. When you deviate from it, from the straight, it's called crooked. That's like shoot. So it went from the straight line. If you go right, if you go left, okay, that's called being crooked. Benilos is a deviation. It's a tangent from a road that is not straight, that is more round, that has an orbit. So when you get out of the orbit, it's called to deviate. It's less grave than the deviation of a straight line. And says the Gaon, this is referring to two types of individuals we've addressed in the past. that Shlomo HaMelech makes sure we need to be away from as much as we can. The first person is the Ra, the bad person. The bad person, we said, first of all, we've learned in the last shiurim who is bad. And Brian raised the last shiur, just a small recap, is Ben Adam la Havero, is when you allow your anger or your emotions to get the best of you and harm the other person. And in the last shurim, what Shlomo addressed was stealing, gezel. That's ra. But another facet to the concept of a ra, the Gaon brought it up in Perik Bet and said that the Ra, if you remember, we had the Ra and the Mirma. The Ra is the person that's bad in his behavior and is bad in his heart. But at least you know who you're dealing with. Yeah? He says he says clearly that he wants to harm you and how he feels. That's the Ra. The Mirma is the vicious one, the one that manipulates, is the top of the Ra. Is called the good of the bad because he presents himself as being good and he will tell you things of one way to embrace you, to bring you closer, but his heart is rotten. His intentions are bad, but he hides them with a soft spoken and a nice speech. And Shlomo HaMelech told us, and the Gaon will address it, that what is worse, the bad or the vicious? The vicious is worse. Because the bad, you know how to deal with it. You know who you're dealing with. But the vicious, you don't know. And the vicious is the one that knows exactly what to tell you and how to bring you where he wants without you doing anything wrong or thinking you're doing anything wrong. And at the end, you fall into his trap and you're lost. So he says, get away from you the crooked mouth is referring to the Ra, the guy that says what he has in his heart. He has a crooked mouth. Haser mimecha. Lehasir mimcha means get away from you, right?
Sur mera, tov.
Sur mera, exactly. Ulzud sefataim, and the one that has devious lips. You see here, he doesn't talk about the mouth anymore, he talks about the lips. Because the vicious, the manipulator, has a very, very strong control over his lips. And if you hear only what the P says, you will not be able to identify the bad. So he says, focus on the lips. What does it mean to focus on the lips? Don't focus on what you hear, but focus on the tone of what you hear. Break down the message and understand what is not being said. And ulzut sefatayim, and from people like that, arhek mimecha, not get them away from you, arhek mimecha, push them away, rachok, as far as you can. Explains the Gaon why. He says because the most dangerous one is this one. So if it's the most dangerous, you need to be even more mahmir with this type of people. Says the Gaon, these people, not only you have to push them away, but you have to make sure that so far you can't even see them. They can't even access your ecosystem. Even if in your ecosystem you're going to find people that are ikeshutpe, people that are ra. And these people, they're far away from you, but they're not out of your ecosystem. But the lezut sefatayim, this make sure it is not in your repertory. It is when you open your phone and you check your contacts, you might find the ikshutpe, you might find the ra, but you make sure to never see the name or have in your contact the lezut sefatayim, the one that the vicious one. Very apropos, Andy, to our yesterday's conversation. Incredible. So, and now I want to bring the Malbim. The Malbim says, we don't usually bring the Malbim, but here the Malbim has a phenomenal addition that will allow us to crystallize what the Gaon is saying. He says, how do you do it? He says it's all based on your behavior. He says, don't behave in a way where you will make people's mouths crooked. Don't give people the opportunity to speak bad about you. But not only don't, so by what? By doing something that you had a very good intention to do when you did it, but can easily be seen as a mistake, as something wrong.
So that's Marit Ayin.
Marit Ayin.
That could be any.
Marit Ayin. Yes, Marit Ayin.
That could be the biggest. One of the biggest mitzvot you could do, and somebody could see the negativity or the potential haughtiness that you're trying to bring out by doing it. Bifnei Rabim. That could be anything, no?
But that could be anything. So says the Malbim, when you do an action, and by the way, that's also how you identify the Ra and the Mirma.
And the Mirma, correct.
Yeah?
Who
Because
says
by your behavior, you trigger their reaction, right? So when you behave a certain way and you see the mouth of the person, of an individual, to start becoming crooked, talking bad, before talking bad, you know that person is Ra, right? You know that person. So says the Malbim, make sure that your behavior is aligned in a way with the Torah, in a way that nobody can talk bad. But more so, not only you shouldn't do an action that can be interpreted as bad. Impeccable to a level that even the ones that envy you but don't have the guts to say it in your surrounding, the people that look down at you, but socially they cannot take a stand for what they believe, and they will, these are the people that always throw a comment, yeah, he's great, and then they have like this yetzerah just to throw bad, and they throw a little curveball. Nothing bad, but they will see in what you do good, but they will also address what you can find bad inside what you do, even though on paper it looks very good. These people, says Shlomo Melech, says the Gaon, make sure to erase them from your contact list, because these are the individuals that are the most harmful to you. Good.
Can I ask a quick question? Is there something that we should be paying attention to with the two words haser and hachek? Haser means we have to actually take it away. Is it something that we innately have?
That is part of you. Haser, meaning it's part of you, but you get it away. Arhek is you push it away completely. You make it far, right? You send it far, and says the Gaon, Arhek meod, as far as you can.
We all innately have crooked speech, but we have the power to keep the lezut sfatim away from us.
I didn't hear what you said.
We all innately have ikshut peh.
That's another pirush. And that's if you apply it as a limud to you, you should not have ikshut peh, meaning you should not speak bad, and you should not also be vicious and manipulative. But this is not what the Gaon refers to as a pirush and the Malbim. But yes, but it's obvious that it applies also to a person, right? Next pasuk, Be'ezrat Hashem.
Rabbi, can you just explain, according to the Malbim, when he says you have to stay away from an action that people are going to talk, sometimes you don't want to, the Malbim was explaining you don't want to be in a position that's going to be viewed as crooked or bad, right?
Yes.
But sometimes you're that's what happens. You're going out to do a kindness or a chesed, or you get involved with something and it turns out to be bad. What are you supposed to do? You have to fight, I guess.
No, in Achinami, no, again, this is not a bulletproof, this is not a chog velo yavo. This is a behavior thing, yes? You have to try your best. Sometimes, there are situations, for example, yesterday at the Levaya of Rav Shlomo Halibwa, one of the Rabbanim said at the end of the Levaya, of the Espedim, he said that Rav Shlomo knew that what he was doing would trigger people to speak and ask questions on his anhaga, on the way he was leading the yeshiva. But he said for the best and for the benefit of the yeshiva, this is the way things have to be done, even though people will talk. So there are situations where, well, that people are gonna might look at at it in a not good way, but if it's for the greater good, and you know what you're doing and it's pure, there are exceptions to the rules, right? Okay. All right. Next pasuk. So we spoke about the heart. We spoke about the mouth. Pasuk kafe. Enecha lenochach yabitu. Your eyes should look straight. Nochach should look in front of you. Ve'af apecha, and your pupils yisheru negdecha. Should be straight, should look straight ahead, in front of you. Says the Gaon, there is a difference between enecha lenochach, your eyes should look straight, and your pupils should yisheru negdecha, should always be straight in front of you. Says this is referring to a pasuk in Kohelet. Al tehi tzaddik harbe, don't be too much of a tzaddik. Val tithakem yoter, and don't be more chacham than what you can actually absorb. Al tirsha harbe, don't be too bad. Ve'al te'Yisrael, and don't be too humble and too insignificant. That's a pasuk in Kohelet Perek Zayin, Psukim Tet Zayin and Yud Zayin. And he says the following. He says, Al tiye tzaddik harbe, and al tiye rasha, al tirsha harbe, don't be too big of a tzaddik and don't be too much of a rasha. He says it's that's when you deviate from the derech hanechona, from the right and from the left. What does that mean, from the right and from the left? So sometimes you have a midah, you have a trait, and you want to excel in a trait. For example, he brings the midah of tov. He says, if you're too good and you're only good, then you become not good. Why is that? He says, because if there is no, I think I told you many times what my grandfather used to tell me. Your yes is only valuable if you can say no. If you can't say no, your yes is not a yes, so it has no value. Right? Says that's exactly what the Gaon says. You cannot be good with everybody. It's not good to always be good. Sometimes you need the left. What is the left? Sometimes there's situations where you see somebody not behaving or insulting Talmidei Chachamim, insulting the Torah, and you have to raise, and you have to know when to open your mouth, and you know how to be like Pinchas. We find the same behavior with Moshe Rabbeinu, Anav Mikol Adam. But when it came to fight the Resha, he knew how to rise and to fight it like a lion. So says Shlomo, says the Gaon, Al tei tzaddik harbe, don't be too much to the right. But he also says, don't be too much to the left. You cannot be also too judgmental and too strict and too rigid. So that's the right, and that's the left. And he says, don't be too chacham, don't think you're too chacham, or don't, he says, like we said in the last shiurim, don't jump in your chokhmah. Don't learn things that you're not at the level of learning, and don't jump in your avodat Hashem thinking that you can learn, grow faster than what you can really absorb. Why? Because if you grow too fast, you're going to end up falling. That's the nature. You cannot go from floor 1 to floor 5. It doesn't work. And he said, and the opposite is what? Don't be too humble, too insignificant to the point where you don't even value your behavior and don't even see importance in your work to the point where you become completely invisible. He says this is what the eyes do. He says what it tells you, look straight. What do you mean look straight? Sometimes with look straight, that means you don't look to your right and you don't look to your left. When you look to your right and you look to your left, the only thing that's moving is your eyeball. Sorry. But when you look up and you look down, what moves? Your pupil. Right? This moves when you look up and you look down. So says the Gaon, to your Hanhaga, on the right and on the left, meaning on kindness and on judgment, right? You should always see in front of you, be on the Kava Yashar, try to be in the center, and sometimes you'll go to the right, sometimes you'll go to the left, but at the end, your eyes is always looking forward. When it comes to your avodah, of being a chacham, of being smart and educated and being humble, right? Humility closes your eyes. Because when you look down, your pupil goes down and you cannot see anymore. You lose touch with your responsibility. And when you look up, there's no more pupil. The pupil disappears. So what is coming to guard you in your eyes disappears. You don't have any more barriers. And this is what brings and leads a person to ga'ava and to arrogance. This is the sword. This is the sword of the eyes. Clear? Right? So when you look right and you look left, you have clarity. Yes? Says Shlomo HaMelech, make sure to always have your mabat, your eyes, looking straight, even when you look at the right or at the left. At the end, always go back to looking straight. Nobody can walk only looking right, and nobody can walk only looking left. It's not possible. A person, when he walks, he looks straight. This should be your behavior. Sometimes you need to go to the right, and sometimes you need to go to the left. But at the end, you're always back to the center. When it comes to the avodat Hashem, your avodat midot, your ga'ava, your ego and arrogance versus your humility and insignificance outlook of yourself, right? This is what the pupil does. If you're too anav and too insignificant, you detach yourself from your responsibility. You cannot see anymore, right? So the pupil completely covers the sight, and if you look up and you look only up, right? So there's no more pupil. There's no more protection of the eye. That's what leads a person to arrogance and ego. He thinks he's invincible. He doesn't need the pupil anymore. Can we continue? One more, yeah? Okay. Bezrat Hashem. Next pasuk. We'll try. We're two pasukim away from finishing the perek. We're gonna try. Clean it. Pasuk Kavav. Pales Magal Raglecha. Weigh the course of your legs, meaning your path. V'chol derachecha yikonu. And all your ways will be founded, will be consolidated, will be prosperous, will yield outcome. So what should you do in order to see perot, to see fruits and positive outcome in the path that you take in life? Always weigh and check the paths that you take. Says the Gaon, he is addressed in Perek Gimel that there are two types of midot that a person has. He has the midot, the traits that he's born with, and he has the traits that he's picked up that are behavioral. The ones that he's born with, says the Gan, are called derachav. And the ones that are behavioral are called regel. Milashon hergel. Hergel is a habit. Says the Gaon, the behavioral traits, the traits that you've picked up in as you grew up, you have to guard them, and you always have to survey them and check them and make sure that they are proper and aligned with the requirements of the Torah, because these are not traits that Hashem gave you. These are traits that you've picked up. And if they are good and you've got the proper chinuch, the proper education, you were influenced by the right ruach, by the right spirit, then you're going to look after them and protect them and make sure to keep those values. It says Kal v'chomer, says the Gaon, that you will look after the values that Hashem gave you, because these are the values that you need to use as your core essence. If Hashem gave them to you, it's because you need those values to serve your purpose in this in your creation. So he says, when it comes to ma'agal raglecha, right, to your which is referred to the behavioral traits that you pick up. He says pales. What does he mean? Pales, survey. Slowly evaluate, right, step by step. And this is how you'll be able to mold, to develop, to consolidate your hergelim. It says if you do that, automatically v'chol derachecha yikonmu. He says when you work on your behavioral traits, by default, your derachecha, the traits that Kadosh Baruch Hu granted you, will automatically align with the derech haemet. It's a very big hidush that the Gaon says right now in the Avodat Hamidot. Essentially, what is the Gaon telling us? You need to be able to identify, and that's a work that each and everyone must do. You have to sit and write down what are my traits that are inhibited in me, that I was born with, that I always fall back to, and what are the behaviors and the traits that I picked up based on my surrounding. So I'm going to look at my father, I'm going to look at my mother, I'm going to look at my grandfather, my grandmother, and see my wife, my environment, and see what I've picked up. What did I pick up? Versus what's within me, no matter what. There's always those traits that are part of us. The Gaon says we have the Zohar Kadosh says that we have 3 traits that HaKadosh Baruch Hu installs in us as 3 pillars. We need to identify them, and then once we have identified which traits are our core essence, we can then identify which ones are behavioral. Now, when you come to work on your midot, says the Gaon, and this is the Hidush, based on what Shlomo HaMelech teaches us, work on the behavior one, because these are the ones that are the closest to you that you can actually tap into and actually work with, because you don't touch it to your core essence and identity. It's very, very hard to touch to your identity, but you can touch to something that's foreign to you that you think is part of your identity. And by working on these traits, automatically the traits of your core essence align with the work that you're doing to fit the direction you want to take and follow the path you're trying to take. Did you understand? This is a super hidush from the Gaon in Avodat Hamidot.
I understand the concept. I don't understand how to do it. It seems very difficult to separate the two.
Me too.
It is difficult. It requires introspection, itbodedut and itbonenut. And you sit down and you say, okay, what are the traits that I always fall back to? Like no matter what. Write it down, doesn't matter. Write everything that goes through your head. Right? And then or you know what, write all your traits. I'm like this, I'm like that, I have this with me, that me, that, this me, that me, that. Okay. And then try to see what is specific to you and what you can relate to your surrounding. This I picked up from my father, this I picked up from my mother, this I picked up from my grandfather. This is and it's not specific only to you. you're going to find it as more of a not general, but more spread out behavior in the family, immediate family or more distant family. And then consolidate that list, and you'll find that a lot of the behaviors that you're saying that you've identified are all related to the same source in the behavioral traits and in the essential traits. But the avodah of your avodat amidot, says the Gaon, based on Shlomo Melech, should be on the behavioral one, because these are the ones that are more adjustable, are more workable with. Good. Oh, let's try to finish one more pasuk. I'm testing your patience. Hopefully not. Al tet yamin usmol. Do not swerve, deviate, tilt right or left. Haser raglecha merar. Keep your feet from ra, from evil. So this is when we say, what did Shlomo HaMelech, what did the Gaon tell us when he's talking about the raglecha? He's talking about the body, right? Remember, at the beginning of the shur, he says that the raglaim are what holds the entire body. So he's talking about the body. Until now, we've addressed the lev, the heart. We've addressed the mouth. We've addressed the eyes, and now we're addressing the guf, the body. Says al tet yamin ul He says don't go right and left, right and left, right and left. He says when you want to work on your midah and you know where you're holding and you know what you need to change, he says go put the direction of your body, of your legs, towards the opposite of where you need to get. What did we say? You have to, if you're in one opposite, you have to go to the other opposite, right? In order to go back to the center. But to go from one opposite to the other, you have to go step by step, right? And follow that direction. Don't be like a yo-yo. One day I do a lot of this. The other day I don't do nothing. One day I'm super spiritual. The other day I'm not. One day I do a lot of chesed. Another week I'm not. No. If you need to work on a midah, it's in a consistent way with a clear direction of where you're trying to go, and you're going to take that path, that direction, all the way till the katzeh, until you get to the polar opposite of where you've started. And once you're there and you see the good that you do and that you and the control that you have over that midah, then you can slowly go back to the center. But as a process and as a derech, al tet yamin usmol. Yeah. Aser raglecha mera is even though you were able to go from one opposite to the other, right? And then you went back to the center, meaning you've been able to work on a midah. Af al pichen haser raglecha mera. Do not test yourself. Even though you're in control of a midah, don't test your midah with by going in and exposing yourself to situations that are bad, that are evil. And don't say, "Kvar irgalti et atzmi, ubati al derech hayashar." I've overcome that Yetzer Hara already. I'm good. I've overcome challenges. I can face now the threat. Al tomar ken. He said, don't say lo echpat li. I don't care about what I'm going to face. What do you mean? This I don't care. It's not anymore. The I don't care anymore is what's going to get you to fall back. You should care to be exposed to something that has harmed you in the past. Says the Gaon, the same way we have in the eyes up, down, right, left. In the Raglaim also we have front, back, right, left. Pales מעגל רגליך. That's going forward. Altet, don't go right and left. That's right and left. Haser רגליך מרע. It says when you're facing a situation of bad, haser רגליך, go backwards. Don't engage. Don't stay where you are. So you see that we have also the 4 directions with the raglayim.
Office, Rabbi?
Yes. Any questions on that? So B'siyata Dishmaya, we can say Mazal Tov, we finished the 4th perek. And we will be starting Be'ezrat Hashem Yeshuato, the 5th perek. B'sha'a tova mutzlachat.
Thank you.
Be'ahava. Be'ahava.
Thank you, Rav.
Be'simcha. Besorot tovot.
Amen. Amen.